I discovered a devastating text on my wife Amanda's phone that read, "I settled for Igor, but I still love you. He's nothing like you." The shock hit me like a physical blow. My hands trembled as I stared at the screen, unable to process that our 5 years of marriage and our newly purchased suburban home were built on a lie. Had every moment between us been nothing but a compromise for her, a poor substitute for what she really wanted? Before I continue this story about the night my world fell apart, let me know where you are watching from. Hit subscribe if you have ever felt like someone's second choice, because this story might just give you the courage you need to walk away. At 32 years old, I had built a stable career as a software engineer at a growing tech company in Seattle. My colleagues often described me as reliable and level-headed. Financial responsibility and honesty were values I held close, traits my parents had instilled in me from childhood. My life was predictable but fulfilling, at least until everything unraveled. I first met Amanda at a tech conference downtown. She worked the marketing booth for her company, and her vibrant energy immediately caught my attention. Where I was reserved and thoughtful, she was spontaneous and outgoing. Her laugh carried across the room and her confident demeanor drew people in. When she handed me her business card with a personal note scribbled on the back, I felt like the luckiest man alive. Our first date was coffee that turned into dinner, that turned into a midnight walk along the waterfront. The connection felt undeniable, at least from my perspective. Amanda talked about her dreams of traveling the world, her love of adventure, and her close-knit family in Portland. I shared my more modest ambitions of creating innovative software, owning a home, and someday starting a family. During our year of dating, 3 moments stand out vividly in my memory. The weekend hiking trip to Colorado, where we watched the sunrise from 12,000 feet above sea level, her hand warm in mine despite the mountain chill. The Christmas I brought her to Michigan to meet my family, where she charmed everyone from my stoic father to my skeptical younger sister with her natural warmth. And the charity project we joined together, building homes for families in need, where Amanda showed a depth of compassion that made me fall even deeper in love. I proposed on our first anniversary, and 8 months later we held an intimate wedding ceremony in Vermont with 80 of our closest friends and family. The early years of our marriage were everything I had hoped for. We purchased our first apartment together, a modest 1-bedroom overlooking a park. We adopted a chocolate Labrador named Baxter, who quickly became the center of our shared affection. We took a vacation to Hawaii, where we spent days exploring hidden beaches and evenings planning our future together. Everything seemed perfect. The first warning signs were subtle, easy to dismiss. Amanda began making occasional comments comparing me to other men. At first, they were framed as compliments. "You are so much more reliable than Jack," she would say about her friend Tina's husband. But over time, the comparisons shifted. "Why cannot you be more spontaneous like Michael?" Or, "Do you ever wish you could be adventurous like Craig?" Her ex-boyfriend Jared started appearing in her conversations more frequently. "Jared and I used to go dancing every weekend," she would mention casually. "Jared surprised me with tickets to Paris for my birthday one year." Each reference felt like a small paper cut, individually insignificant, but collectively painful. Amanda became increasingly secretive with her phone. She would smile at incoming texts but quickly turn the screen away when I entered the room. Our intimacy began to wane both physically and emotionally. We talked less about meaningful topics and more about household logistics and schedules. Self-doubt began creeping into my thoughts. Was I boring? Was I not enough for her? But I dismissed these concerns, attributing them to normal marriage adjustments and my own insecurities. I convinced myself that all relationships evolve and that what we had was still special. To afford our new suburban house, I began working overtime at the office. The extra hours were exhausting but worth it, I thought, for the life we were building together. Meanwhile, Amanda grew increasingly vocal about her dissatisfaction with what she called my boring lifestyle. "Do we have to stay home again this weekend?" She would complain, even when I explained I needed to recover from 60-hour work weeks. "When did you become such an old man?" she asked once when I suggested a quiet dinner at home instead of a club opening she wanted to attend. 3 arguments stand out from this period, each more intense than the last. After a dinner party with her friends, Amanda unleashed her frustrations. Did you see how attentive Eric was to Lisa all night? He anticipated her needs before she even spoke them. When was the last time you paid that much attention to me? The comparison stung, especially since I had spent the evening engaged in deep conversation with her friends, making an effort to connect with the people important to her. When I received a promotion that required additional responsibility and hours, instead of celebrating, Amanda accused me of putting work before our relationship. "This is exactly why we are growing apart," she said. "You choose your career over me every single time." I tried explaining that the promotion meant financial security and greater flexibility in the future, but she dismissed my reasoning as excuses. The most heated exchange came when I finally questioned her about her increasingly late nights out. "Are you tracking me now?" she shouted, turning my concern into an accusation of controlling behavior. "I need space to breathe. You suffocate me with your neediness." Her words left me speechless, as I had always prided myself on giving her independence in our relationship. Despite these growing tensions, I was determined to save our marriage. I planned surprise weekend trips to nearby tourist spots she had mentioned wanting to visit. I purchased expensive jewelry for no special occasion, hoping to reignite the spark between us. I even suggested marriage counseling, which she reluctantly agreed to attend. For 8 weeks, we sat across from Dr. Reynolds talking about communication strategies and reconnection techniques. I read relationship books, making notes and changing behaviors the experts recommended. Nothing seemed to bridge the growing distance between us. The discovery that changed everything happened on a Tuesday evening. Amanda had asked me to fix an issue with her laptop. As I worked on it, Facebook notifications began appearing on screen, messages from Jared. I knew I should have respected her privacy, but something in me needed to know. 4 messages revealed the truth I had been avoiding. "I miss having you in my arms," Jared had written 3 weeks earlier. "Last week was amazing. When can I see you again?" from just 10 days ago. "Do you ever regret your choice?" followed by his most recent message. "He can never love you the way I do." My hands shook as the reality of their emotional affair, possibly physical as well, became undeniable. I confronted Amanda when she returned home that evening. She initially denied everything, claiming they were just friendly exchanges. But as I quoted the messages back to her, her defenses crumbled. "Fine. Yes, I have feelings for Jared." She finally admitted, her voice a mix of defiance and relief, as if unburdening a long-carried secret. "We have been talking regularly for years. He understands me in ways you never could." What followed was the most painful conversation of my life. Amanda revealed that Jared was exciting, passionate, spontaneous, everything you are not. She confessed to meeting him several times during our marriage, including during a business trip to Boston, where he now lived. The final blow came with her devastating admission. "I married you because you were stable and kind," she said, avoiding my eyes. "I thought I could forget about Jared and be content with security. But my heart has always belonged to him. I settled for you, Igor, and I have been trying to make it work. I do care about you, but it is not the same." Every word felt like a dagger. The life I thought we were building together had been nothing but a consolation prize for her. I was her backup plan, the reliable option, when her first choice was unavailable. That night I slept in the guest room, though slept is generous. I stared at the ceiling until dawn, replaying 5 years of memories through this new, painful lens. The following weeks were a blur of emotional breakdowns and sleepless nights. My work performance suffered as I struggled to concentrate on anything beyond my crumbling marriage. I lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks as my appetite vanished. I analyzed every aspect of our relationship, searching for clues I had missed, wondering where I had failed. For 3 weeks, I sank into a deep depression. I blamed myself for not being exciting enough, adventurous enough, or loving enough to win Amanda's full heart. I neglected basic self-care, often wearing the same clothes for days and forgetting to eat regular meals. My friends Daniel and Thomas noticed the concerning changes in my appearance and behavior during a scheduled guys' night that I almost canceled. Their worried faces reflected the shell of a person I had become. "You look terrible, man," Daniel said bluntly, as we sat at our usual table at the local bar. "When was the last time you slept through the night?" I could not remember. Sleep had become a luxury my anxious mind would not permit. What they did not know was that the betrayal continued even after Amanda's confession. She had promised to cut all contact with Jared as we worked on our marriage, a phrase that now felt hollow. But one evening, while using our shared computer, I discovered a confirmation email for a plane ticket to Boston, hidden in a folder she thought I would never check. The departure date was just 2 weeks away. The next morning I left for work at the usual time, but doubled back after 30 minutes, having forgotten some documents. That is when I overheard Amanda on the phone in our bedroom, the door slightly ajar. "I cannot wait to see you too," she whispered. "Igor has no idea. He actually thinks we are fixing things." A pause. "I know, baby. Just 2 more weeks, and I will be in your arms again." Something broke in me that day, but in its breaking came clarity. I drove to Daniel's apartment instead of returning to the office. He took one look at my face and called in sick to his own job, leading me to his couch and putting a strong cup of coffee in my hands. "She is never going to choose me." I said the words finally spoken aloud, making the truth unavoidable. I have been fighting for someone who decided long ago I was not worth fighting for. Daniel, who had known me since college, reminded me of who I was before Amanda. "You were always the guy with integrity. The one everyone counted on, not because you were boring, but because you were genuine. That is not something to be ashamed of, Igor. That is something rare." That night alone in our house, Amanda, at a girls' night that I now doubted was with female friends at all, I found myself reviewing our wedding album. The smiles, the promises, the hope captured in those glossy pages felt like artifacts from another life. I remembered my vows, how I had meant every word about honoring and cherishing her all my days. Had she meant any of hers, clarity came with surprising suddenness. I deserved authentic love. I deserved to be someone's first choice, not their backup plan. I deserved honesty, and I would never find any of these things with Amanda. The next morning I scheduled a consultation with divorce attorney Gabrielle Thompson. Her straightforward advice helped me develop a plan. I began documenting the emotional affair, gathering evidence, including screenshots of messages and the flight confirmation. I opened a separate bank account and transferred half of our savings, leaving detailed records of the transaction to show I was acting fairly, not vindictively. I cataloged our assets and began researching the value of our house. 3 days before Amanda's scheduled trip to Boston, I confronted her. She entered our living room to find me calmly sitting with a folder on the coffee table between us. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than it had been in weeks. "About what I have plans with Tina tonight," she replied, already reaching for her purse. "About your trip to Boston to see Jared this weekend." The color drained from her face. For once, Amanda was speechless. "I know everything, Amanda. The ongoing communication, the planned trip, the lies." I slid the folder toward her. "These are divorce papers. I have already signed my portion." "You cannot be serious," she stammered, not touching the folder. "We are working through this. I told you I would try harder, while secretly planning to see him. That is not trying, Amanda. That is not even basic respect." What followed was a desperate attempt to salvage what could not be saved. She cried, pleaded, accused me of giving up too easily. When none of that worked, she switched tactics. "You will never find anyone who understands you like I do," she said. "We have 5 years together. Are you really throwing that away?" "You threw it away," I responded calmly. "Every time you chose him over me, every lie, every comparison. I was just too blind to see it until now." The most surprising development came 2 days later when Jared himself appeared at our door. Amanda had apparently called him in distress, and he had flown in early to handle the situation. His confident smirk faltered when I answered the door instead of Amanda. "I am here to see Amanda," he said, trying to look past me into the house. I invited him in, surprising both him and Amanda, who stood frozen in the hallway. "Actually, I think we should all talk," I said. "Since this involves all 3 of us." What emerged from that uncomfortable conversation was revealing. Jared had no intention of building a life with Amanda. His messages about loving her and missing her were, as he awkwardly explained when pressed, just things you say, you know. He enjoyed the excitement of their forbidden connection, but balked at the reality of commitment. I thought we were just having fun, he admitted, unable to meet Amanda's devastated gaze. I did not think you would blow up your marriage for this. As Amanda faced the shallow nature of what she had sacrificed our marriage for, I felt no satisfaction, only a deep sadness for all three of us caught in this painful triangle. But I remained firm on my decision. The divorce papers remained on the table. Even as Amanda, now seeing Jared's true colors, tried to convince me we could repair what was broken, I knew some fractures run too deep to heal. I will not be your backup plan, I told her, as I packed a suitcase to stay with Daniel until arrangements could be made. I will not be the safe choice you settle for until something more exciting comes along. I deserve better than that. And honestly, so do you. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I stood in the empty living room of what had once been our shared home. The house had sold quickly in the hot Seattle market, allowing for a clean financial break. I had accepted a position with my company's Denver office, drawn to the mountains and outdoor lifestyle I had always appreciated but rarely prioritized. The healing journey had not been linear. There were nights I questioned my decision moments. I scrolled to Amanda's contact information, tempted to call and see if we could try again. But those moments grew fewer as I rebuilt my life with intention. Therapy became a weekly cornerstone. Dr. Martinez helped me process not only the pain of betrayal, but also the patterns that had allowed me to accept less than I deserved for so long. I joined a support group for divorced men, finding unexpected comfort in shared experiences and collective wisdom. With more mental space free from relationship anxiety, I refocused on my career. The change of scenery came with new challenges that engaged my problem-solving skills, leading to a promotion within 4 months of relocation. I rediscovered old hobbies that had fallen by the wayside during my marriage. Mountain biking through Colorado trails reconnected me with the natural world, while photography gave me a way to capture beauty and find meaning in small moments. My friendship network expanded beyond Daniel and Thomas, who still checked in regularly via video calls. I joined a local tech meetup, found a weekly basketball game, and volunteered teaching coding to underprivileged youth. Each new connection reminded me that life continued to offer richness beyond romantic relationships. Amanda's path took different turns. Through mutual friends, I learned that her relationship with Jared had imploded after only 2 months of dating officially. The fantasy of their perfect connection could not withstand the realities of day-to-day life and his apparent commitment issues. She reached out multiple times in the months following our divorce. First with angry accusations, then teary apologies, and finally with suggestions that we might reconcile. I made a terrible mistake, she wrote in her last email. No one knows me like you do. No one cares for me like you did. I responded kindly, but firmly, wishing her healing and growth but maintaining the boundaries necessary for my own well-being. Some doors once closed should remain so, not out of bitterness, but self-preservation. The most unexpected development in my new life began at a cooking class. I joined on impulse, thinking it was time I learned to make more than 3 reliable dishes. Sophia was the instructor, a former restaurant chef who had started teaching after burning out in professional kitchens. Her patient guidance and genuine passion for food created an atmosphere where mistakes became learning opportunities rather than failings. We began with casual conversation after class, which evolved into coffee to discuss recipes, and eventually dinner, where food was merely the backdrop for deeper connection. Unlike my rushing into commitment with Sophia, and I moved deliberately, each step forward, taken with awareness rather than just emotion. I need you to know I am still processing my divorce, I told her on our 3rd date. I want to be fully present for whatever this might become. I appreciate your honesty, she replied. My last relationship ended because we tried to rush past the hard conversations. I would rather take time and build something real. The contrast between this developing relationship and my marriage became increasingly clear. Where Amanda had made me feel I was never quite enough, Sophia appreciated qualities I brought, without expecting me to be someone I was not. When she admired other men's traits, it was simple observation, not veiled criticism of what I lacked. 6 months into dating, I planned a special dinner that confused Sophia when she realized the date. It is not our anniversary, she said. as I poured champagne at the restaurant where we had shared our first meal together. Actually, it is an anniversary, just not ours together, I explained. 1 year ago today I decided to file for divorce. It was the day I chose my own worth over someone else's validation. And I wanted to celebrate that with you, because without that decision, we would never have met. Sophia reached across the table to take my hand. To choosing yourself, she said, raising her glass, and to finding each other because of it. While friends occasionally asked if Sophia and I were heading toward marriage, neither of us felt pressured by artificial timelines. What we had was honest, respectful, and growing naturally. After experiencing a relationship built on compromise and settling, I recognized the profound difference in wanting someone versus needing them to fill a void. The journey from devastation to rebuilding taught me lessons I try to share with others facing similar challenges. Never accept being someone's second choice. Your value does not diminish because someone fails to see it. True self-worth must come from within, not external validation. Sometimes walking away, though terrifying, is the greatest victory you can give yourself. Pain, when faced directly, can be the gateway to a more authentic future. And perhaps most importantly, relationships should enhance your life, not complete it. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is just the door opening to the best thing waiting for you just around the corner. If you have been settling in any area of your life, I hope this story gives you courage to choose yourself. What was your biggest takeaway from this experience? Have you ever had to walk away from someone who did not fully choose you? Leave a comment below and share your story. If this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Share it with anyone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for joining me on this journey of healing and growth. Remember, you deserve to be someone's first choice, never their backup plan.